So, welcome for the next instalment of Dharma in Pyjamas, our lovely Wednesday mornings together. And the topic for today is how come pyjamas? How come we even started this thing about the pyjamas? The other title that it could be is 12 years on a couch or how to enjoy Dharma. So I'm going to try and weave all of those things together. But pretty much how come the pyjamas thing started in the first place was that ages ago when this centre was still in the Newmarket house, and we only had maybe 2 or 3 classes a week, nothing on the weekends, maybe some occasional weekend course. And then there were a lot of requests, let's do Lamrim Chenmo, like in-depth Buddhist study, and let's really, blitz it. When can we do it? We'll do it on a Sunday morning. And I'm like, no way, I'm not doing anything on a Sunday morning unless I can come in my pyjamas. And everyone said, sure. So then I had to go out and buy my first pair of store-bought pyjamas. Anyway, they were really nice pyjamas, and so I kind of wore them out, the rest of the time as well. A nice kind of chinoiserie set at that time. Much to the mortification of any friends that I went out with, but it kind of started a theme, the Sunday mornings. And so, of course, since then, Sunday mornings have been like peak hour at Lungri Tangpa Centre, one of our most popular classes. So how come I said, okay, only in my pyjamas? Because it's just a way of tricking yourself into thinking that you're on a holiday. So I do a lot of Lungri Tangpa Centre volunteer work whilst in pyjamas, in bed with the cat, and then that way it's a trick to keep my mind relaxed and happy to do the Dharma work. Now, the other reason why I thought to bring it up was that in the Buddhist tradition, there is a thing called doing your nongdros, or colloquially known as your hundreds and thousands. And so that's often if you do it the long version, can take about 12 years. They're the preparatory practices. And the purpose is to prepare your mind to do long-term retreat so that the retreat will turn out really well. They say, to fertilize the ground for realizations and to make sure that your mind's really prepared to generate realizations and not just kind of waste time. So the nongdros, in some traditions, it can be 12 years. In the Gelug tradition, you kind of combine them together, and you can get them done in about 4 years, or if you go into a nongdro retreat, it can be in a few months. So what those nongdros are meditating on perfect human rebirth, on impermanence, karma, all the different sufferings of samsara, and then doing your hundreds of thousands. So 100,000 refuge prayers, 100,000 mandalas, 100,000 prostrations, 100,000 satsas or images. The satsas behind me here on the wall, 100,000 water bowls to gentle the mind, 100,000 Vajrasattva mantras to purify negativities, to reset everything up to now, year 0. Guru yoga, all sorts of things. So there's different ways that you can do it. And so for us, I was thinking, actually, we kind of did an informal nongdros because we spent 12 years on a couch. And that was 12 years of getting up from the couch for sentient beings, a little bit like when you get up from prostrations and you draw all sentient beings out of suffering. And how come we spent 12 years on a couch was that when we first came to Lungri Tangpa Centre, I was in a little house in Newmarket. There was just, the bedrooms had been turned into a gompa, and there was a little sleep out, and that was kind of the green room for when the geshes or the teachers came, or the nuns stayed overnight. And so we just slept on mattresses on the floor. So here's the house, and you can see there the bay window, that's where the gompa was. there's my dead mum, Inta, who started this centre. This was when the garden was first planted out, and this little sleep out here was her room for some of the week, and then when the Geshes would come and teach, she would sleep in the closet and give her room up for the Geshes. Then when Inta died, and then I kind of attempted to step into her footsteps, then this is the lounge room. So this, you might recognise Venerable Sering from many, many years ago. And now here is the couch in question. So for many years, it's actually like a futon sofa bed. You know, it was a Dharma centre, and this was where here doing a Dharma kit bag course, and in the corner there is the shop. And so during the day, it was a Dharma centre lounge room shop. Also, when we didn't have enough room in the Gompa for the spreading out of, you know, everybody to do everything. And then everyone would go home, and then we'd pull the sofa bed out, and that side of the shop there would become a bedside table, and the other side was the photocopier, and that was my bedside table. And then the next morning we'd get up and we'd put it all away again. And it was, you know, we didn't tell anybody because we didn't want to freak anybody out, or they might think it's a bit creepy that they're walking into somebody's bedroom. So we had a few close shaves. One time we slept in and kind of woke up at 10 o'clock and went, oh my God, class is starting at 10:30. And so we packed everything up and packed the mattresses under the bedclothes under here. So under there was where we kept all of the pillows and things. And ran around like chooks with our heads cut off, and got everything just tidied away for when the first people ring on the door. Oh, good morning, come in, ready for class. So then the other thing that we did, of course, was that holiday in your pajamas. So instead of traveling and all that kind of thing, we just transform the house into a holiday. So here's us on holiday at the beach. So in the Christmas holidays, we'd pack all of the shop and everything away so it wouldn't get dusty, and put up our little brolly and watch like 6 or 7 videos each day, just to we were much younger, of course, you know, to feel like that we're on holiday, and then pack it all away again and get back to class. So that was from 1997 till we left that building in 2007. And most of the time it was a secret, but one time we had a fundraising event, and Geshe Tashi Sering came as guest of honour. And then he said every time he walked into the centre to give teachings, it was pretty much every Friday night for many, many years, he'd see that couch and he'd think, oh, look, Miffi and Eddie don't even have a room to sleep in. And it would kind of inspire him to, you know, keep teaching and inspire. And so he's telling everybody this, and I'm like, oh no, we've managed to keep it a secret for that whole time. And now the cat is out of the bag. Anyway, so that was 10 years there. And then when we moved to the Camp Hill Centre, after this extraordinary series of events, then of course there was a lot that needed to be renovated. And so again, me and Eddie lived in the office, which was just a room that was a covered in stage on the community centre. And again, we just took the sofa bed with us, and there was no bathroom and no shower. I mean, there were toilets and everything. So every time I wanted to wash my hair, I'd have to go down to the hairdressers and get my hair washed at the hairdressers, until eventually showers were put in and the downstairs apartment was put together. And so after 12 years, we got our own room. Wow! How amazing. So that's our ad hoc Nongdros. And it's not so far-fetched, because Lama Zopa Rinpoche says that volunteering at a Dharma centre is like doing retreat. It really is. And because of the kind of the mind transformation that you have to go through to keep your mind happy. And if anyone had said to me, oh, Miffi, you're going to spend 12 years without your own room, I just would have slashed my wrist right there. There's no way. I couldn't even bear thinking about it. But what I did was each morning I'd just pretend I was Japanese, and I just, you know, those SBS movies where they just put everything behind a screen and they have those wonderful little slidey doors and everything folds up and the bed is gone and it's just super minimalist. So each morning when we put everything away, I just pretend I was Japanese. And so then for another day, I'd be happy. You know, if I thought about it too much, I'd just be tearing my hair out. I need my own space. But it was just like they say in AA, just a day at a time, and that worked. That's right, the tatami mats. Yes, the fold-away rooms. So anyway, so that kind of led me to this other thing that I wanted to share with you about. So then in terms of pajamas and things, so quite a nice series of pajamas. And then when Lama Zopa Rinpoche started the amazing retreats in Bendigo, and so that then is my holiday, isn't it? Because I'm away from Lungri Tumpa Centre, I don't have to organise anything, and that's a real holiday for me. And so I decided in my mind, I'm not going to push myself and get all uptight about it and miss enjoying the retreat. So one of the things I did was I made a special dressing gown quite similar to this, because Bendigo, you know, it's freezing cold. I think it had pink flamingos all over it. And so I was a bit shameless, you know, I'd sleep in. I wouldn't necessarily do precepts every morning, and I'd mosey off to the loo and to set up my cup of coffee in my pink flamingo dressing gown whilst everybody's coming out from their first batch of teachings, or not teachings, precepts and prayers for the morning, and they kind of look askance at me like, whoa, what a slacker. I was like, no, this is my holiday, and this is how I'm going to keep my mind happy. If I can sleep in and I have my nice comfy dressing gown, then when I go to Rinpoche's all-night teachings, I am right there and I'm enjoying it. And I remember one of the nuns saying to me as she's walking past me on the path while I'm in my dressing gown and it's like bright daylight, she's like, Miffi, I don't know how you do it. How do you keep happy so much? And I'm like, see this dressing gown? This is my trick. This is my trick for my mind. But also you've got to be quite, you just have to be honest about what your limitations are. And while I would like to be able to do all of the precepts from before dawn in the morning and then all of the teachings till after midnight with Rinpoche, I'd just blow a gasket. So what's the most important thing here? Rinpoche's teachings and not having to organise anything. So it's not perfect, but it's a way that I kept my mind happy. And when I was growing up as a child in Dharma centres, I noticed people burning out, and I never wanted to do that. As a child, I made a decision. I'm not going to burn out like that. I'm not going to be one of those grown-ups in a Dharma centre that sighs all the time and gets cranky at the sentient beings that you're supposed to be helping. And so one of the ways that I can do that is by staying in my pajamas. So the ultimate holiday on retreat, working really hard, focusing and concentrating, but it's like it's a holiday from the delusions. And then keeping the mind happy on our 12 years of on a couch. And then I remember, you know, following on from last week when we were talking about the 3 faults to abandon of the three different cups. And the other side of that is the 3 things to cultivate, how to make sure that you enjoy the Dharma, because you don't want to have to spend 12 years on a couch or how many years in a Dharma centre and end up more cranky. So there are people that have come to Dharma centres for years and years and years, and they are getting more cranky old women and cranky old men, and it's like, what's going on here? It is possible to go to a Dharma centre and for nothing to go in, to just enjoy your time with the Geshe just because you feel good when you're with them, of course, but it's kind of becoming reliant on that as an external source of happiness rather than changing your own mind. And so the Dharma can actually not benefit you because of not having, you know, opened your mind up. So the the three wisdoms then, for us beginners, really fantastic thing to cultivate. The wisdom of listening, the wisdom of reflection, and the wisdom of meditation. And they kind of counter those three faults. So the wisdom of listening, in our terms, and you probably heard this all last night, Alison, in our terms is research, going on YouTube, reading fantastic Dharma books, that thirst for knowledge that we have. And so we develop that wisdom of gathering up that information, of listening. And it's very much driven by our intellectual thirst, our thirst for knowledge, our curiosity. And that kind of thirst is what counters the upside down cup. So we actually become we're really curious to find out about things. So it's called the wisdom of listening, but I'd call it the wisdom of research or study. And it's what we got to start with, because how do we know what we're going to meditate on unless we've actually found out what we're going to meditate on? But pretty much, if you just leave it at that, then you just keep coming to teachings, but nothing goes in. Or you keep reading books and you just want something more and more advanced. So if you just think that the Dharma path is about intellectual knowledge and that real buzz that you get from intellectually stretching your mind and going, oh, I get it, how fascinating. And if you just leave it at that, oh man, you're going to be in big trouble. And what can often happen is, and Geshe Zopa has said this, people that go hard in a monastery or at a Dharma center and just study all the time at the expense of anything else, they kind of flame out. They might study for 4, 5, 6 years, be a real star student, and then lose their faith, blow a gasket, disrobe, leave the Dharma center, become burnt out, so I'm never going back there again. You think, how is this possible? Someone who just could recite all of the lists of everything, who knew, prize student, and then they leave. But it happens a lot. And Geshe Zopa said, really look out for those stars, the intellectual stars, because they're at great danger of that if you don't do the second wisdom, which is integrating. So it's called the wisdom of reflection. But what it means is integrating the Dharma into your life and actually taking that intellectual knowledge and going, how does that apply now? And we've got to apply it to the circumstances that we find ourselves in, not to some perfect circumstances that we want to be in, but like what's happening right now. So if we're in a Dharma center that doesn't have enough rooms and you don't have a room of your own, then what are you going to do? So Lama Zopa Rinpoche, always said about Tong Len is the best for that. So you kind of make it personal, and then what did Yangtze Rinpoche said about this? That then our wisdom won't degenerate and become unhinged, and our studies will become like medicine to cure the disease of the disturbing emotions, rather than just becoming intellectual and our mind getting drier and more inflexible. So the study of, the wisdom of reflection, that one, it's like, if you're at a retreat with Lama Zopa Rinpoche and it's only every 6 years that you get to see your guru, and then finally you're there at the feet of your guru, there's no point stressing. Then you're going to miss your one wonderful opportunity. So if the only way to keep your mind happy is to sleep in and kind of get looked at askance, then that's okay. That's what I reckon anyway. And so, so you kind of make it personal, you contemplate, how does that apply to me? And you take it as the medicine. So instead of just collecting medicine, like collecting intellectual knowledge and admiring your bottles of medicine or collecting all your different prescriptions, you've got to actually take your medicine, isn't it? Every day, according to the instructions. So that's making it personal, integrating the Dharma. And then the third wisdom, the wisdom of meditation. So that doesn't mean necessarily sitting there on a cushion, you know, with your eyes closed, being still. It's good if it can, but actually what the wisdom of meditation means, familiarizing your mind. And you mightn't have time to sit quietly and meditate or go into retreat for many, many years, but you can familiarize your mind by using those other two wisdoms so much that what you end up dwelling on is all the objects of virtue, virtuous objects, meaning the causes of happiness. So instead of dwelling on problems, dwelling on how to transform your mind, or how to keep the mind happy, how to put in place the antidotes, so that eventually when problems arise, you might get to a stage where half of you goes, oh no, I can't just bear another minute of it. And the other half goes, hang on a second. What am I here for? I'm here for sentient beings. I can work with this. So it kind of, you don't tip over and lose it. And then after a while, if you really develop this wisdom of meditation, of familiarizing your mind, a Dharma wisdom becomes your default, your baseline. Dharma wisdom was what first comes up when problems arise, instead of what you forget to do and a week later go, oh, I should have done that, or I should have gone to this book and read about it, or whatever. It's the first thing that comes up. So that's the minimum that we should be aiming for as beginners, right? That whenever things go wrong and things change, uncertainty, our first port of call is the Dharma. And then that way we'll be really joyous about it, because we'll know there's something we can do. There's always something that we can do. So that one is the one that counters the leaky cup, you know. So that instead of the Dharma going in and leaking out, we become familiar enough and we can hold it and enjoy the nectar of the Dharma. The middle one of reflection, of contemplation, counters the dirty cup, so that we get rid of all of our misconceptions and start really applying it to ourselves. I have this wonderful quote from Rinpoche about this. So he says, what we have to consider is that our organisation has grown from hard work and sacrifice, the whole FPMT, Foundation and Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. And what helps most here is Lamrim and Lojong, taking and giving. All of us make mistakes sometimes, or negative issues arise due to karma, and we forget our Dharma practice and relate in an ordinary way. But we can't think like an ordinary, normal organisation. We have to think differently and act according to Dharma. So that's why I'm shameless in my pyjamas. So sometimes people who are working at centres only think of the problems. Maybe it makes them feel sick. Their hearts become very dry or uninterested. However, if you know how to think, it's really unbelievable. The highest merit is collected, and there's the greatest purification by working for the centre. So Rinpoche has often said that volunteering at a Dharma centre is the same as doing retreat. Same merit, same amount of purification. Or you might think, oh, I'll go and work in a hospital. There's much more merit or help doing that. But you see, when you don't think of Dharma, you completely forget that the Dharma is the only way to really benefit sentient beings, to liberate them from suffering and its causes. Therefore, this is the best offering. Every day, what you're doing, working for sentient beings, thinking to free sentient beings from suffering, to cause them happiness, especially ultimate happiness, liberation and enlightenment. That's exactly what bodhisattvas wish and what Buddhas wish, and so this is the best offering to them. When you cherish sentient beings, that's the best offering to them. When you offer service to sentient beings, that's the best offering to Buddhas and bodhisattvas. It's very important to remember this. And in this way, there's something to enjoy. You see it as a path. What one is doing is a path to enlightenment. And by seeing the benefit, there's great enjoyment. And Rinpoche says, all of you who are helping at the centre and working at the centre, you're helping every sentient being, every animal, every ant in the different universes, every mosquito, all the different kinds of fish, every slug, every mouse, every maggot, and even every tiny flea. So thank you very much. Please enjoy life with a good heart. That's the best way to enjoy the life, with a good heart. And this causes inner happiness that goes all the way up to enlightenment. So it really covers all the bases, doesn't he? So that I don't kind of study too hard, and so I don't get too worried about emails or uptight about it. The trick is the pajamas, getting out of bed for sentient beings. Of course, it's hard to get out of bed because you're drawing all sentient beings out of suffering. And then it's in for the long term. So after our 12 years of Nongdros, we've had many years of our own room, and it's just amazing. Every morning I wake up going, wow, I'm so lucky. I have my own room, and now I have a cat in it as well to keep us happy. So it's not that we get rid of what's called contaminated happiness. We actually need day-to-day happiness to be able to keep on the Dharma path. Otherwise, it's just not sustainable. So the thing is to make sure that we always enjoy our Dharma study and be there for the long term. And when you stop enjoying things, that's when you bring in Tonglen or thought transformation. So that, emails will never be fun, right? But there is a way to think about it that can keep the mind happy. So I hope that was helpful for you and kind of explains a little bit about our background. And perhaps we'll have more events on at Langri Tampa Centre where everybody can come in their pajamas. Though I do suspect now that we're online, there you go. You probably have a direct experience of this now. The utter joy of having a Dharma class without all the hustle and bustle of having to travel and being able to stay in your pajamas. And doesn't the Dharma go in so nicely? On one hand, we're a bit disrespectful because we're doing what they call in the Lamrim sticking your feet out, which is like a really big no-no. But if your mind isn't disrespectful, it's not a problem. In our really kind of pressurized society, this is probably a really nice way to have the Dharma go in joyously with a relaxed mind, because that's what we miss out. Over and over again, we forget about that. All of this Dharma has to come into a relaxed, happy mind, and then it fertilizes the mind for realizations. But if we're really, really uptight, it's just not going to work. So let's dedicate the merits of having spent the morning like this. May we spend many other mornings like this. May you always enjoy your Dharma studies, and that way bring everybody else joyously to liberation and enlightenment.